Hey everyone, and welcome back. Big thanks for sharing those roll catcher reports on pump operators. Gotta admit, this is one job I don't know a ton about. Beyond pumps, obviously, but this complete career guide seems pretty awesome for getting us up to speed.
It really is thorough. And you're right, most folks don't realize how much goes into being a pump operator. These roll catcher pieces really show how vital they are when things get intense.
So let's jump right in. One thing that stood out, just skimming these roll catcher findings, is how much more to the job there is than I would have thought. Like, it's got to be more than just turning valves, right?
Absolutely. Way more than just water pressure. The excerpts really emphasize all the critical thinking, the on-your-feet decisions these folks have to make. Not just water flow, but how different extinguishing agents.
Extinguishing agents, sorry to interrupt, are we talking like different kinds of fire suppressants? I'm guessing one size doesn't fit all.
You got it. I mean, think about it. You wouldn't use just plain water on a grease fire in your kitchen,
Yeah.
right? So these agents, things like foam concentrates or dry chemicals, those are chosen depending on what kind of fire it is. And a pump operator, they need to know which is which, when to use them, and how to get them working right. RoleCatcher actually has a whole section on foam concentrates, super important for flammable liquids, but you got to mix it perfectly.
So not a simple job at all. Sounds like you need to adapt fast and think even faster when the pressure's on. These roll catcher excerpts even mention needing to understand how buildings are constructed. Why is that?
Really good question, and it gets to the heart of why this is strategic work. Picture a fire, multi-story building, right? RoleCatcher makes a point of saying, knowing how different materials react to water pressure is huge GE. Brick walls they might hold, but something built lighter could collapse under all that water, putting the firefighters inside at risk.
Whoa, hadn't even considered that. That's a heavy responsibility, not just putting out flames, but making calls that keep the whole firefighting team safe.
Exactly. And that responsibility just grows as a pump operator moves up, in their career. Speaking of, RoleCatcher lays out a really nice progression worth looking at closer. Starts entry-level pump operator, already senior. Talk about room to grow, huh?
Yeah, a clear path forward that's always nice to see, especially in a job with this much pressure. So what's it actually look like, going from entry level all the way up, according to RoleCatcher?
Actually pretty structured. When you're starting out entry level, it's all about those fundamentals. Help out with the pump operation, making sure those extinguishing agents we talked about, they're getting where they need to be.
Right, so real focus on accuracy, following the procedures from day one.
You got it. Learning the ropes, getting comfy with the equipment, and really understanding how crucial that stuff is. The firefighters are depending on it.
Almost like a medical residency, right?
Mm.
Getting experience in a controlled setting before you're calling the shots. What's next after that entry level?
Junior pump operator. That's where you really start taking charge. Not just assisting, you're running the pumps. Plus, you get into the mentoring side of things a bit.
Mentoring, so training the next group coming up while you're still learning the job yourself.
Yeah, exactly. They help train those entry-level folks, kind of like, I don't know, a chef teaching their apprentices in a busy kitchen. This stage is about taking those skills you learned early on and making sure things run smoothly, especially when things get hectic.
But that experience is invaluable once you're moving towards senior pump operator. What's RoleCatcher say about that top level?
By the time you hit senior pump operator, you're basically conducting the whole firefighting orchestra, managing those complex situations we talked about, leading the training, even developing new procedures based on everything you've seen.
Natural progression into a leadership role, then.
For sure. And if we're thinking big picture here, that path to becoming a senior pump operator, it's got a lot of similarities to, say, project management, even military operations. High stakes, needs tons of coordination, but man, at the end of the day, must be incredibly rewarding.
Fascinating comparison. Sounds like people skills are just as important as the technical stuff here. And speaking of skills, RoleCatcher points out how a lot of what you learn as a pump operator, it applies elsewhere in life too.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Yeah.
I mean, staying cool under pressure, making those split-second decisions, knowing how to lead a team, who couldn't use that, right? No matter what you do.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher is big on that, points out these skills transfer big time. Think about a career change. Just want to be better at what you're already doing. This stuff applies.
Like, what kind of skills specifically come to mind? Communication's got to be huge, I bet. No doubt. RoleCatcher actually uses the example of, say, you're the pump operator, you get to relay instructions to the firefighters inside a burning building, right? Keeping everyone on the same page, keeping them safe. That clarity, that ability to communicate when it's high stress, everyone can use that. Team meeting, tough talk with your partner, It all ties in.
Now, that is a skill I could definitely brush up on for pretty much everything. Anything else in these role catcher reports that stands out transfer-wise?
Problem solving, that's a biggie.
Mm.
Think about it. These pump operators, they're always sizing up the situation, what they got to work with, got to find solutions on the fly. Adaptable, resourceful, especially when things go sideways.
Almost like their brains are wired for it after a while, facing all those different challenges. Makes you wonder if those skills could help in other fields too, where things are complicated, like, I don't know, disaster relief or huge logistics operations, something like that.
Exactly. And it goes deeper than just the technical side. RoleCatcher talks about the personal qualities that get developed too, resilience, leadership, being a real team player, that kind of thing.
It's that we're all in this together feeling that really comes through in these write-ups. Of course, nothing's perfect. Rollcatcher's honest about the tough parts of the job, too. Long hours, sometimes you're dealing with hazardous stuff, and obviously there's inherent risks. Not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
Takes a special kind of person to not just handle it, but to thrive in that world.
Yeah.
But here's what's interesting. Often, those exact things that might scare some folks off, those are what create this really strong sense of camaraderie, this feeling of purpose for the people doing this work.
Makes sense. You go through something like that together, the shared understanding, the respect, it's got to be different.
It is.
Yeah.
And that purpose, that feeling that what you're doing directly impacts people's safety, their well-being, that's powerful stuff. Real motivating.
So we've learned a lot. Turns out pump operator, it's way more than meets the eye, right? Needs that technical know-how, sure, but also quick thinking and a whole bunch of personal qualities that not everyone's got.
And it's a career with a real ladder to climb. You can move up, and the skills you pick up along the way, those could apply to a ton of other fields.
Definitely gave me a new appreciation for how complex it is, how important. So if you're anything like me and this deep dive piqued your interest, go learn more. Might be surprised what you find. And hey, who knows, maybe you'll even get inspired thinking about how these skills could be used in ways you wouldn't expect. Until next time, everybody.